The evangelist Billy Graham once remarked that he hesitates to preach about heaven while he's there, and Mikhail Gorbachev once joked to President Bush that he should tax the people of San Francisco for living in such a beautiful place. Well, Monty went to find out why San Francisco is so revered.
Sitting in the morning sun, I'll be sitting when the evening comes, watching the ships roll in, then I'll watch them roll away again. Yeah, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, watching the tide roll.
It's only in San Francisco that you can go to a laundrette and order burritos and a cappuccino. Or perhaps you go to a cafe and wash your clothes. Who knows? Because here the conventional boundaries are blurred and stretched, so you really don't know what to expect. It is, after all, the city where flower power turned the world on its psychedelic head.
If you're going to San Francisco, be sure to wear...
Haight-Ashbury was the center of the Summer of Love in 1967, when people flocked here to join the whole hippie movement. Well, the hippie movement is here after a fashion. In some ways it's a bit tacky, in other ways it's just a living museum. But whatever you feel about it, you can find out by taking a flower power tour.
When I was a teenager, having long hair was all about peace, love and protest. Today in the Haight, it seems to be more about turning a quick buck.
This is the psychedelic shop.
What was the psychedelic shop?
It was a head shop, which means it's a place where an acid head could buy anything that he wanted.
Oh, that's handy.
So this is a 90s take on what a 60s head shop would have been like. So it's got the hippie clothing and it's got the psychedelic tie-dye, but it's also got the T-shirts.
It seems to me to be a pretty commercial sort of setup.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People come to see the 60s, and then they spend money on the 60s, so that's what it's meant to be.
Well, peace and love, man.
San Francisco is a city of counterculture. It has always had a liberal feel to it ever since the days of the gold rush, when it was a rowdy boomtown of bordellos and drinking holes. And it's not difficult to understand why it has attracted the world's pleasure seekers. As Rudyard Kipling once said, San Francisco has only one drawback: it is hard to leave.
The Golden Gate Bridge is made up of 80,000 miles of cable, which would take it around the world 3 times. However long it is, it does the job because it moves and flexes, and when there's an earthquake like the disastrous one of 1989, it withstands the worst thrown at it.
San Francisco is also a city of tours. You name it, they've got it. My wok-whiz tour of Chinatown's culinary delights ended not in some takeaway, but where Frank Sinatra laid his hat. At John the Hairdresser's, and for $5, it was a snip. Next, San Francisco's top tourist destination, Fisherman's Wharf. A good venue for clam chowder, but its original charms have been lost a bit to the tourist tat. The home of a bird lover was to follow, just a short boat ride away, the prison island of Alcatraz.
This was hard reality, believe me. It's the toughest job I ever had in my life. I was only 21 years old, the youngest guard to work in Alcatraz.
Now, there's a cell here. What's this one?
This is Robert Stroud, the Birdman cell. I knew him when I was here.
The Birdman of Alcatraz.
Why don't we walk inside?
Now, this is huge.
It certainly is. Very large. It wasn't meant to be a cell, but because he killed one of us many years ago, they wanted to keep him in isolation. So he spent 44 years in isolation. This is the bathroom, and this is where Robert Stroud bathed. We used to call it the bird bath.
And did he come in here on his own and just have a good splash around, or?
Oh, no, no. One of us, and maybe 2 of us, would bring him in here. We'd bathe him. In fact, I remember he used to shave in here. He had no running water in his cell. And he'd shave all the hair off his body. It's a little weird.
It is slightly odd, that, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
San Francisco is the gay mecca of the world. And this area, the Castro, is the heart of the gay community. Nearly 90% of the people who live here are gay. And here you can take yet another tour. There's Cruising the Castro with Trevor.
The Castro is truly about having fun. This shop here shows how we can live out our fantasies. And this is Rococo's Fairy Queen Chocolates.
It's a chocolate shop.
Which was run by a radical fairy.
Now, this is quite unlike any chocolate shop I've seen before. This is geared up for the Castro.
Absolutely. We like to say it's where Willy Wonka meets Victoria's Secret.
Now, Jeffrey, you too are a radical fairy, right?
I can go with the fairy bit, but why are you radical?
Well, the radical fairies are fairies, people who don't fit in elsewhere, people who have danced to the beat of a different drum, but also they're at a totally different drumming session than everyone else.
And theirs is perhaps the ultimate tour. It's called Three Babes in a Bus, and for $30, you go to 4 clubs and dance all night.
That week-long holiday costs from £657 if you go in the winter months and from £729 in the summer. The price includes scheduled flights and accommodation on a room-only basis.